Hey guys, it's Veelia here. I'm finally delivering the first episode of my Restoration Shaman guide. I hope you guys find it helpful, and please be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. Keep in mind, I'm mostly talking from a raid perspective in this video. I will do my best to try and offer some dungeon-specific builds, but most of my experience and time is put into raiding, so that's where my focus is going to be for these guides. Let's jump into it with the basics and start with stat priority. The simple answer to the question, what is the Restoration Shaman stat priority, would be intellect over mastery over crit, haste, and versatility. However, the answer really just isn't that simple. As healers, we typically do much more thorough-put healing with any higher item level piece of gear, as intellect remains our strongest and most important stat. Unlike some DPS classes, we should never throw away or discard a better item level piece of gear just because it doesn't have the perfect stats. However, when offered with equal intellect choices, mastery is the stat that you want to look for most on gear. Deep healing increases the healing of your spells based on your mastery, with lower targets being healed for more. So for example, let's say you have 95% mastery. If you heal a target at 1 HP, you do 95% more healing, and this gets reduced as your target gains health. Critical Strike is also a great stat because of the way that it works with our passive resurgence ability that returns mana when certain spells crit. And, haste is always a great stat because it helps us cast our heals faster. However, with the way that mana is now working in Legion, it is easy to yourself with too much haste. Versatility also isn't a horrible stat, it's just a simple buff to our healing. In summary, there really is no bad stat for a Restoration Shaman. Look out for higher intellect gear while maintaining a slight favoritism towards mastery as your secondary stat. Next, let's talk about talents. This is a little more tricky as you'll change talents based on certain fights. I'll do my best to go over all of the viable choices for you so you can understand why and when to pick certain talents. Generally speaking, the first talent tree choice will almost always go to Undulation. There have been some nerfs to Torrent, making it not as good of a choice as it was earlier in the expansion. One instance where you might want to mix it up is on Ursoc, where Unleashed Life would be a good choice, as this is a AoE healing, chain heal heavy encounter. The next talent choice is simply based on utility. My go-to talent choice for the level 30 talent is definitely Graceful Spirit. However, from time to time, your guild may require you to take the Windrush Totem to help with raid movement and, getting out of sticky situations. For example, on Il'gynoth, this might be a good talent to take. For the third tier of talents, we again have a utility choice. Lightning Surge Totem seems to be the typical go-to totem, however, Earth Grab can be good in fights such as Il'gynoth. Next up, Ancestral Guidance is my go-to talent choice for the fourth tier of talents. It provides a great buff to your healing with a reasonably short cooldown. Next up is when things start getting a little tricky. My go-to talent choice for this tier is typically Earthshield Totem. However, on spread fights like dragons, Ancestral Vigor can be a good choice. On the other side of the spectrum, Ancestral Protection Totem can really be a nice dungeon totem to take, as a dungeon will almost always last longer than a raid encounter, giving you a lot of use out of the totem that you couldn't typically get in a raid. This next tier is a little tricky as well. My baseline talent choice is Cloudburst Totem. It is a simple choice and it is always a general increase to your healing. It also works extremely well with some of our other baseline talent choices such as Ancestral Guidance. It's great for fights with big bursts of damage such as Ursoc, Nithandra, Elithra. However, it requires a deeper knowledge of your spells and may not be the best choice for newer restoration shamans or people who are new to healing in general. There's a rhythm to healing that you master as you heal more and more, and Cloudburst Totem is definitely for someone who is familiar with that pattern. Echo of the Elements, on the other hand, works well with fights with hive movement, or fights where raiders may not be around you and your Cloudburst totem. It's also a passive ability, making it a choice for people less familiar with healing, specifically Shaman healing. Neither choice on any fight will be a poor one as long as you make proper use of each spell and don't leave Cloudburst Totem or, Riptide on cooldown for too long. Finally, our level 100 talents. High Tide is my baseline here. It's a solid passive increase to your healing that requires no positioning requirement. It's what I use unless people are spread out or the raid is taking high burst damage. In the case that people are spread out, Ascendance may be a better choice. It also works exceptionally well with Cloudburst Totem. I've seen people burst for over 4 million with Ascendance plus Cloudburst. It's insane. Wellspring is a great talent under the conditions that people are stacked and the raid is taking surges of high damage. However, it did perform much better during beta than it has live, and it is typically not taken over Ascendance and High Tide in most cases. Lastly, for the basics, let's talk about your artifact weapon build. Thankfully, Restoration Shamans have an easy to remember artifact path. The typical path is as follows. Fill up your right side first. These talents typically increase your single target healing, making gearing up in dungeons and preparing for raiding much easier for you. Once you start raiding, the left side becomes very important because of the Riptide and Healing Raid traits. Therefore, after getting Queen's Decree, you want to start filling up the left side of your weapon, building up to title pools next. Next up for Raiders, you'll move down to Ghost in the Mist, then to Sense of Urgency, Floodwaters, finally ending in Cumulative Upkeep. After filling up the rest of the points, we finally get Flow of the Tides, increasing all of our healing by 5%. And that's gonna sum up the basics edition of my Restoration Shaman Guide. In my next video, I'll do an in-depth explanation of gearing, which will include optimal trinkets, relics, and more. I really enjoyed making this video for you guys, so please let me know what you think about it in the comments. This is my first class guide ever, so I'll definitely appreciate any feedback that you guys give me. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to thumbs it up. And if you want to watch similar content to this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see you all later. Bye!